Everyone talks about Marietta and Alpharetta, but what if Atlanta's hidden gem is somewhere else? If you're looking for that sweet spot between small town charm and, big city Atlanta amenities, then Woodstock should absolutely be on your list. But is it the right move for you? So today we're gonna break down the pros and cons of living in Woodstock, Georgia, so you can decide if it's a good fit. Let's get into it. Downtown Woodstock is hands down one of the best downtowns in Metro Atlanta. Over the last 15 years, it's gone through a huge transformation, and now it's the kind of place where you can definitely park once, spend the whole afternoon without really ever getting back in your car. The heart of downtown runs right along Main Street, where you're gonna find a mix of locally owned restaurants, boutique shops, coffee shops, breweries. There's a little bit of everything here. Truck and Tap, it's a bar that parks food trucks out back. Pie Bar is literally a place that serves pie. Chocolate pies, pumpkin pies, turkey pot pies, you name it. There's more upscale dining at Century House Tavern or Rootstock. Woodstock's restaurant scene definitely punches above its weight class for a city of this size. One of the coolest things is how connected everything feels. There's tons of outdoor seating, and in the spring and fall, you're gonna see people eating on the patios, walking around with ice cream, walking their dogs, heading towards the amphitheater for a concert. There's always stuff going on around here. Speaking of which, the Northside Cherokee Hospital Amphitheater is a huge draw. It's right in the middle of downtown, and in the summer, it's packed with free concerts, movie nights, festivals. Combine that with, your regular farmers markets, your First Friday events. There's always something going on around here. And now the new Woodstock City Center project is set to take downtown to the next level. This mixed-use development is gonna add more dining, more retail, more office space, and even some residential units, all designed to blend into what's already there, which is, if it's gonna be a challenge. This is set to make Woodstock an even bigger destination than it already is. Woodstock's location is a big reason why it's exploded in popularity over the last decade. You're about 30 miles north of downtown Atlanta, which means you can still access the city when you need to, but you're definitely far enough away to avoid all of, the noise and hustle that you might think a big city comes with. The city sits right off of 575, giving you a straight shot south into Marietta, Kennesaw, Atlanta, or north toward Canton or the North Georgia mountains. For most people, this means, just an easier commute to bigger job centers like Alpharetta, Marietta, Kennesaw, or, even the Perimeter Center over by Sandy Springs, especially if you're strategic about travel times. Leaving at 7 a.m. versus 7:15 can make all of the difference. And here's a bonus. Woodstock is also within striking distance of some great weekend getaway spots. You're only about, I would say, an hour from places like Blue Ridge, Ellijay, Amicalola Falls if you want a quick mountain trip, and less than 20 minutes from Lake Altoona if you want to go boating, fishing, or just relaxing by the lake. It's one of those locations that gives you the best of both worlds. Close enough to tap into Atlanta opportunities, but just far enough away that, still got a little bit of that small town escape when you come home at the end of the day. If you like being outdoors, Woodstock is a great place to be. Cherokee County does a phenomenal job with its parks, both developing them and maintaining them. Let's take a look at some of them. Old Rope Mill Park is a little bit hidden, but it's fantastic. It's right along Little River with walking trails, fishing spots, picnic areas, and some really great mountain biking trails. If you're into hiking, biking, or just sitting by the water, then this is a great spot for a go-to. There's Dupree Park on the south side. It's got tennis courts, pickleball courts, playground, and an open green space for all of your needs and your kids, rec league games on the weekends. Then there's JJ Bielo Park right down the street from downtown Woodstock, Hobgood Park, JB Owens Park. There's just tons of options around here. Woodstock is also just minutes from Lake Altoona, where you can go boating, paddleboarding, kayaking, or just enjoy a day at the beach at Caldwell Park. And yes, I did say beach, sand by the water. Is it the ocean? No, but it's close enough for North Georgia. What's nice is that all of these options are right here. You don't have to drive an hour to find something fun to do outside. Whether you're the type who wants to train for a half marathon or just walk the dog after work, then Woodstock is gonna make it really easy to have an active lifestyle without going too far from your house. So schools are going to be a big draw for a lot of families moving into Woodstock. The city is part of the Cherokee County School District, which consistently ranks among the better school districts in Georgia and around Atlanta. On niche.com, it gets an A- overall rating, and individual schools here tend to score pretty well compared to the state averages. If you're going to be in the Town Lake area, you're going to be zoned for Etowah High School, which is going to get an A on niche.com and an 8 out of 10 on gradeschools.org. If you're more in the central downtown area, you're going to have Woodstock High School gets an A- on niche.com and a 9 out of 10 on gradeschools.org. On the southeastern side is River Ridge High School. It's going to get an A- on niche.com and an 8 out of 10 on gradeschools.org. And then a few on the north side are going to have Sequoia High School, technically in Canton, also going to get an A- on niche.com and an 8 out of 10 on gradeschools.org. All these are very similar in rating, so I would say it's really going to come down to which area most fits with, what you want to be close to. Safety is always a big consideration when choosing where to live, and Woodstock compares well to a lot of the other metro Atlanta suburbs. Quick disclaimer that I'm going to talk about safety from the perspective of third-party sources. In this case, we're going to look at neighborhoodscout.com, which is going to compile FBI crime data and compare cities nationwide. According to neighborhoodscout.com, the chance of becoming a victim of either violent or property crime in Woodstock is 1 in 81. They also note that relative to Georgia, Woodstock has a crime rate that is higher than 55% of the state's cities and towns of all sizes, but compared to other communities of similar population size, Woodstock is safer than most. Now, we're going to add to this that Safewise.com is going to name Woodstock as the number 15 in its list of 20 safest cities in Georgia. Now, like most suburbs, the majority of incidents here are non-violent property crimes such as theft and vehicle break-ins, and they tend to be clustered around busy commercial areas and shopping centers. Actually, fun fact, I just heard of a series of break-ins in a neighborhood in Woodstock, but it wasn't actually a break-in, it was just a bunch of kids going around opening doors of cars that were already unlocked. So they didn't break in, they just opened the unlocked doors. By the way, if you're thinking about making a move anywhere in Metro Atlanta, whether it's Roswell or somewhere else, my contact info is in the description. You're also gonna see it right here at the bottom of the screen. Call, text, or email anytime. I'm happy to answer your questions or just have a conversation. One of the nice things about living in Woodstock is that you're close to some of the best hospitals in the North Metro area. Just up 575 in Kent, you're gonna have Northside Hospital Cherokee. This is a modern full-service hospital that's part of a highly regarded Northside system that has hospitals all over North Metro Atlanta. It's known for, strong maternity programs, advanced imaging, cancer care, and, a wide range of surgical services. They're constantly adding to this. They just finished another exit that goes off of Northside Drive. For most Woodstock residents, it's only about a 10 to 15 minute drive, which makes it your go-to for both emergency care and, maybe some scheduled procedures. Or you can head south toward Marietta. You'll find Wellstar Kennestone Hospital. This is one of the largest hospitals in Georgia. Kennestone is a regional hub for advanced care, offering a whole slew of services. It's about 10 to 15 minute drive depending on where you are in Woodstock, so it's still very accessible when you need it. And then of course, Woodstock itself has plenty of urgent care centers, primary care offices, and specialists, especially along the Town Lake Parkway area and Highway 92. So whether it's routine checkups or more advanced care that you're looking for, you're really never too far from something that you need. One of the biggest shifts in Woodstock over the last decade has been in home prices. Surprise, surprise, right? For a long time, Woodstock was seen as the affordable alternative to places like Roswell, Alpharetta, or even Kennesaw. But thanks to its booming popularity, that price gap has narrowed dramatically. As of fall 2025, median home price in Woodstock is hovering in the high 400s to low 500s, depending on, the neighborhood, but you can certainly find homes in the 300s as well as definitely on the higher end in the 7 figures. The demand is fueled by a combination of factors. Obviously, you got a great downtown, you got good schools, you got strong community, but the downside is that first-time home buyers and families looking for, maybe a more affordable option, you're gonna find it harder to find here. It's still possible to find something under 400, especially if you're open to, something smaller, something under 1,800, 1,500 square feet or a townhome. But in short, Woodstock is no longer necessarily that budget-friendly secret that it once was, and buyers, you may need to adjust your expectations a little bit. The spread between Marietta, Woodstock, and Canton doesn't really exist anymore. Now it's about the same, and you just need to decide which one of those areas is best going to fit you. While Woodstock has grown a lot in terms of restaurants, shopping, residential neighborhoods, it has not developed into a major employment hub. And maybe it doesn't want to. Most of the large job centers are still located in some of the nearby cities, Kennesaw, Alpharetta, Marietta, we mentioned some of those earlier, or even further south toward Atlanta. That means a lot of Woodstock residents have at least some kind of commute, especially if you work in corporate offices, tech, finance, or healthcare. On the plus side, the location off of 575 makes getting to those nearby job centers pretty straightforward, but depending on your destination, you might also have to navigate some of the more congested roads in the region during rush hour. If you work from home, obviously, less of an issue. But if you need to be in the office every day, it's worth factoring in some of those extra drive times when you're considering Woodstock. Woodstock's popularity has been a double-edged sword. On one hand, the city's growth has brought a wave of new restaurants, development, shops, housing options, and on the other, it's starting to chip away at some of the small town charm that made people fall in love with it in the first place. And they'll tell you about it. How back in high school, this was a field. This used to be, a one-lane road. This used to be open land. Over the past 10 to 15 years, Woodstock has been one of the fastest growing suburbs in Metro Atlanta. New subdivisions were constantly being built, especially in the Town Lake area, especially in the late 90s, early 2000s, and along Highway 92 as well. The downtown district, while still has its charm, is now busier than ever with more development happening as we speak. This growth has also contributed to more traffic, particularly during rush hour, and around some of these major shopping centers. With more people moving in every year, it's likely the trend is going to continue. For longtime residents, the change is noticeable. For new arrivals, it might just feel like a lively, bustling suburb. Either way, it's something to keep in mind if you're looking for, a slower paced community. Let me know, could you deal with the cons if you've got all of these pros? Hey, if you're thinking about making a move here, go ahead and reach out. I'll be happy to get that process started with you. Or if you're still exploring, check out some of these videos right over here. I'll see you in the next one.